Hello, everybody. I am Lindsay Vastola. Welcome back to the Functional Aging Summit. If you're here live, it is day 2, and to kick off, I'm really excited for this session for many reasons, but Summer Montabone is experienced in this industry, and I think she brings just the research, and really, we haven't met in person, but a lot of mutual connections, which always tells me a lot about people, right? The circles that you're with. And I'm excited to hear her perspective, as I know you are. I know we're all in for a treat, talking about the overlooked pressures facing women and women fitness business owners. Summer, I'm going to turn it over to you. Real quick, for those of you who are joining us live, use the chat box. Summer will open it up at the end and for some questions. But if you have any questions, or even just to engage, put yes, I agree, or put your experiences in there. In that chat box, and you're welcome to either keep your video on or off. It's up to you. So Summer, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Lindsay, and I'm excited, I guess, have this conversation with all of you. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this subject, but more sharing my experience, because I have a lot of experience, I guess, when it comes to the role of, a woman. So like she said, my name is Summer, now it won't let me, there we go. My name is Summer Montabone, and yes, I've been in this industry for quite a while, and I'm gonna share with you some of my experiences. I'll share some different stories, some of my background, but really my goal is maybe to let us look at things from different viewpoints, but I wanna leave you with some valuable tips and things that you can actually implement to maybe make you more successful, or feel that you can balance things a little bit more. So, I believe that most of us have been brainwashed to be sick, stuck, and hurt. And I also believe you can achieve health and happiness in any season of life. And I've made this statement for several years, and I think in today, what we've experienced here in 2020, that statement might resonate with people even more. And I'm just always wanting people to think about things and empower themselves to become their own personal decision maker. So I have another I believe statement. I believe as a mom, no matter what hardships you faced or are going through now, you have the power to become the CEO of your own life. And so, typically I've worked with different individuals, mainly women, over the years, that they feel like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, and it's showing up on their waist. And so typically those are moms with careers, and they're trying to balance their health, their family, and their career. And like I said, that weight loss is often just a symptom of maybe what they're feeling. And so I know I'm speaking specifically to moms, and yes, women feel that as well, but my personal experience has a lot to do with my role of being a mom, and how that changed perspective from just being a woman to now a mom. And so, I've been helping people since 2007 at my 6,000 square foot fitness facility in North Canton, Ohio. And actually North Canton years ago was rated to have the #1 most overweight women in the population, believe it or not. So I've been helping people, and again, we have men at our studio too, but mainly women. And I've evolved quite a bit over the years. So just to give you a little bit of background, I achieved my degree, my bachelor's in health and physical education, back in 1998. And I was also a member of the University of Toledo women's track and field teams. And even going further back than that, in high school, was a member of, women's sports, volleyball, and in particular volleyball, we were treated differently. We had soccer uniforms from the 1970s. Meanwhile, the football team got new jerseys almost every single year. And so my eyes, I guess, have been open for quite a bit of time on some of the differences or challenges that maybe women face. And as I elevated through my career, as a high school new teacher, I ran the after school detention and the discipline committee. And then I continued on, and I actually competed in fitness. And in 2004, I was a national fitness champion and earned IFBB Pro fitness status. Unfortunately, in 2006, I lost my mom to cancer. And then in 2007, I opened my facility in North Canton, Ohio. I basically literally felt like I was having a heart attack, signing the paper, all me by myself opening this facility, but I felt there really needed to be a place for education and empowerment. You know, things continue to move on, and as I, whoops, sorry, my screens here changed. There we go. I don't know why Zoom does that. That one little cursor was working and now the other ones aren't. So anyway, in 2011, I became a mom, and my life pretty much changed at that point in time. I suffered from such severe postpartum depression and anxiety that I was hospitalized for a week. And it was in that point of time on my journey of self-care and my journey of rebuilding myself that I just said, you know, why didn't anybody tell me about this? You know, again, I lost my mom in 2006, so I entered being a mom without a mom. And so as a business owner, as a mom, all these roles, all these challenges, my life has literally been turned upside down, and I've just really engaged in a lot of self-development. And that's some of the things I want to share with you because I've just focused on self-care. And so when we talk about pressures for women, like I said, I'm just going to share some of my perspective, some of my thoughts, because maybe your clients have experienced this. I know for me, now having gone through postpartum depression, I embarked in a world of counseling, and there was a lot of things with trauma that I wasn't aware of. And so you might have clients that, you know, that's why they have roadblocks subconsciously that they're not even aware of because of this, of some trauma maybe they've faced. And again, some different things as a business owner, since a lot of us in here obviously either, you know, might have a business or we're very career driven. What does that look like for us, and why is it different? I don't know about any of you, but over the years, I've actually been told that I wasn't allowed to say that. Oh, don't say that it's different for women, or don't say, you know, that being a mom is different. And this is coming from people that haven't experienced those things. And so sometimes you feel isolated. And so I just think it's good to have a conversation. And so all of these different things, you know, women have different views when it comes to body image, or if you're a wife or a partner, a mom or a parent, a daughter, a caregiver, a business owner. So briefly, I just want to talk about body image. It's funny because I never really flat out put that out there, but I remember Dan, and for those of you that aren't as familiar with Dan, you know, one of the co-founders of Functional Aging Institute, Dan had been following me on social media, and he saw that picture I showed earlier, and I'll show it again, that kind of showed my before and after as a fitness competitor and what I look like now. And he just said, you know, wow, the pressures that you must have faced when it comes to body image. And I just really hadn't thought about it. And for me, going through some different types of counseling and talking about and understanding why I was so driven to achieve that body so many years ago had a lot to do with subconscious things that were said to me that I wasn't really aware of it. So for example, when I was younger, I had a neighbor that every time I wore a skirt would make fun of my legs and say, I cannot believe with your skinny legs that you would show them that you would wear a skirt. And it's funny how that has affected me subconsciously even to this day, because people will say, like, why are you always in pants? And I don't think about that right off the bat, but like I literally wear pants all the time. The same with my broad shoulders and arms. I was always told, oh my gosh, cover those up. Your arms are so big, your shoulders are so broad. You know, you have a very manly body type, cover that up. And so again, I've found myself, even as an adult, always in sweatshirts, always in long sleeve things. And the reason I'm sharing this is because, you know, there are things in our childhood that maybe were said to us over and over and over that is now why we you know, make certain decisions today. And as women, yeah, we often are judged or, need to look for a certain ideal. Same with hair and makeup, right? My daughter said to me, like, Mom, why do you have makeup on today? Because I don't know about some of you ladies, but I gave up on being ready for Zoom presentations during this whole, quarantine thing. I'm like, I'm going to show you what real life looks like. And so often, like women, having to fix ourselves up and the time that it takes. And I remember explaining that even to a male fitness business coach that I have, that I was like, listen, I'm really struggling with time. If I need to get on camera or if I need to do all these videos that you're suggesting for me to build my business, like it's kind of a lot of work to add that in there. And guys really don't think about that, right? And so, like I said, how we present ourselves, what we wear, our hair, our makeup, being criticized for being too thin, too overweight, whatever it may be. And so I don't know about you ladies, and I don't know, again, sometimes our clients, maybe they were subjected to that because I was made to feel that, I needed to be covered up all the time because my shoulders, I was too athletically built and that wasn't feminine. So just some things to think about there. And so what are other pressures that then we face as a wife and a partner? I talk to a lot of women that feel like they've had to make compromises in their career, that typically the husband or typically the male role in the relationship, and there's days I still feel that way, that's more important than what the wife wants to achieve, right? And that the wife should have to, maybe reduce or, it's just not as important. And then think about it, if the wife in the relationship happens to be more financially successful than the male partner, and how that creates issues. And again, a lot of these things are just subconscious that sometimes people aren't even aware, and then there can be resentment in the relationship. We'll take that a step further. If you're a mom or a parent, I'm the oldest of 6 children. And so I have 5 younger brothers and sisters. My mom did work full time. She was a teacher. She taught full time, had 6 children. And my dad also worked full time as well as a pharmacist. And I do remember conversations where my dad was even almost resentful that my mom had a career and worked outside of the home. And, sometimes we might not think that this is important, but really it is. And, there's things in history and things we're seeing now where it's like, do women really truly feel that they have the freedom to be who they want to be and be successful and achieve the things they want, especially if they're, have other responsibilities such as being a wife or being a mom. And I think it goes even further if you are a mom and now you have little ones. I'll talk about the quarantine here in a minute and how a lot of moms experience that even more, and why, women and moms are so stressed out, right? So again, as a woman, if you're the daughter, often you're then expected to be the caregiver in a family relationship. Well, when I was 12, we had 3 kids under the age of 2. So again, I had 5 younger brothers and sisters, which 3 of them were under the age of 2. So as a 12-year-old, I basically was learning parental caregiving at that time as a 12-year-old. And if we fast forward into other stages of life, a lot of times, if you're a woman, if you're a daughter and your parents need care later on, again, typically it's the woman, it's the daughter that's expected to step in and now care for aging parents. So all these responsibilities for women, all these different pressures to do all of these things, right? And again, I think the quarantine allowed us to see that even more. So now let's say you're a female and you're a business owner and you want to have a career and you also have all those other roles and expectations. It's like all those balls in the air, something is going to drop, right? Something is just not going to work. And I know a lot of women will even hold back in their career because of all those other things that I mentioned, that, you know, being a wife, being a mom, being a caregiver, that they've had to put a pause. They feel that pressure that they cannot be as successful. And then obviously this topic, you know, business owner career, you know, have women faced situations where they weren't paid as much as a man in the same role? Like, we know that still happens. Are there women that feel like they can't show their accomplishments because they're viewed differently than, say, a man who has those same accomplishments? So I'm just trying to bring some things for us to think about that we might be facing, that some of them might be right in front of our face, and others might be subconscious, kind of ingrained deep down, that society has just kind of, you know, said that women are expected to have all these roles. And sometimes there's not even conversations between, you know, husbands and wives, or, you know, partners about it. It's just like expected that it's going to happen. And so again, just looking at all these different things that women face. And again, we're not saying that men or other people don't face these types of things. It's just there is a different expectation for women. And a lot of times women have a hard time putting themselves first. And so when it comes to your clients, that's typically what I have seen, that it's hard for a woman to step out of the guilt or shame or feeling selfish for doing something for themselves, because really they've had to serve others in so many different ways. And that's one reason I've become so passionate on women becoming the CEO of their own life, because my journey with postpartum depression, I realized, oh my gosh, my mom was miserable. I realized she was miserable, that all she did was take care of other people, and that her needs were always put last. And so I want to be a voice for women to say, like, hey, we have to put ourselves in the driver's seat. So as I continue to go forward here, I'm going to show you some different things that have, you know, been beneficial for me on my self-care journey. So yeah, what about self-care, right? So this picture right here was taken during the quarantine. And this is all four of us, you know, at the table. And I did a little like blog post saying that this picture might look like it's, you know, structured and controlled, but it truly was chaos. And so, you know, previous to this, for me anyway, like, I needed my kids to go to school. It was my responsibility every morning to get the kids ready, to get them on the school bus. Then whatever time was left in between was time that I had to do everything else that I needed to do. And I don't want it to sound like ever that my husband was like, no, you can't, but just his role required him to be at work earlier. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, so I can carve my own schedule better. So a lot of responsibility fell into my lap. Well, this right here, on the days that he went to work and it was just me, it was pure chaos. I had to decide, am I going to help my kids with their work, or am I going to work on what I need to do? And so I had to lower a lot of my expectations. And so, you know, for other women that maybe are working in corporate jobs or careers, you know, there's a Facebook page, and they put out a lot of articles, I think it's Working Mother Magazine. And they share all these different experiences and different conversations that women need to have with their employers to say, like, listen, if I'm a mom, you cannot expect me to have the same level of productivity while I'm now at home having to manage my children because schools are closed. You know, that there has to be a little bit of give and take in that situation. So as much as I love my children, it was very challenging for me to oversee them during their schoolwork, because I have very, very strong-willed children, and, you know, what does mom know, right? And so the same thing, like with our self-care during that entire quarantine, no matter what, I made sure to get my workout in. Like, that was a non-negotiable. And so that's something I want to ask you as a woman. Have you made different non-negotiables in your life? A lot of times we don't do that, especially if we are a parent. We always put our kids first. And so here are my kids, you know, joining in on the workouts. We tried to make it fun. They obviously were having a lot of fun. They set up the camera and were taking different pictures. And, you know, life is chaotic for a lot of women, especially if they are a mom, because of all these added pressures. So if anyone has anything that they want to share an experience, put it in the chat. At the very end, I do want to allow and open up some time to, you know, maybe have a little discussion. But if anyone has anything they want to share, like a pressure, again, these are just my experiences, just my thoughts. I know there's lots of other pressures that people can face. Put it in the chat. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here, and then I'm going to dive into some more things, because I wanted to leave you with value on how can you try to keep it all in place and have more of a real smile on your face instead of pretending that you're happy. Let me see here. Do we have anything in the chat? Let me take a look. Let's see here. So let's just take a look real quick. So, okay, so we do have a couple guys on here as well, and that's good. And someone mentioned they like the non-negotiables, very good. And find something to start their morning and start their day, because especially with kids, it can be unpredictable. Yes. Workout non-negotiable, awesome. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead and we'll keep moving on here. Did it again. I don't know why Zoom does that. 1 minute, one thing works, and then they change it, and it's a different spot here. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my #1 tip. So this is like to keep it all in place and to keep moving forward. My #1 tip. All right, come on, Zoom. There we go. Okay, is to decide in your mind and decide in your heart what it is you truly want for yourself. Yes, I've been a personal trainer and I own a gym, but I don't really feel that's what I do. I feel I help transform people's lives. And when I work with private clients, I've had a program, CEO Moms Lifestyle Mentorship, and we talk about what is it you want your ideal day to look like. And I don't mean a perfect day, but an ideal day. And just decide both in your mind and your heart what it is that you want, because everything that you do to create the life that you want starts with your decision. And there really is a difference in kind of deciding and making a decision. So for example, like I mentioned back in 2004, even previous to that, 2001, I did my first fitness competition. I thought it was, you know, cool. Like I said, I was a collegiate track athlete. I was looking for something different. I wanted to challenge my mind, my body. And I remember way back then making a decision in my brain that no matter what happens when I go to that national competition, I decided to do everything in my power to bring my best that day, and that I was satisfied with that. Like, I really decided that I'm going to put the work in, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is. I'm happy with the result, the experience, and everything else. Well, for me, it worked out. I became a national fitness champion. And in this industry, if we want to go back to body image and things like that, like, yeah, you're being judged on what your body looks like. And as I move forward here, I'll tell you that's one reason why I've actually kind of left that industry, because that does a number on your mind. But I was able to challenge my body and, you know, physically, not only aesthetically, but physically, doing one-arm push-ups, doing things like this, that as a taller woman standing at 5'8", I was told, you can't do that. You won't be able to do that. You'll never make a living as a personal trainer. I was told that several times. You'll never be a fitness champion because you don't have fake breasts. You're too tall. You're not muscular enough. All these things that I was told, but I made the decision that I was still going to try because that's what I wanted to do. So I just share that because, again, some of these things we take in and then we start to believe them. And that's why we have to have conversations we don't need to just listen to ourselves. We need to talk to ourselves and realize that we're driving the bus, and to accept the personal responsibility. So in that realm, I did. And just like now in business or now in my household, I have to accept my own personal responsibility. And it starts with my decision, whatever that is. And this little motto right here, if it's going to be, it's up to me, was something that I had to take in really hardcore. And maybe you've experienced this, or maybe you've worked with clients that like to make excuses. I've made lots of excuses. I mentioned several different things that I was up against, and I found myself falling into that victim pattern. And there's no denying, because like I said, I've gone through lots of counseling, and I still do. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, but I had to decide if anything was going to change, it was ultimately up to me. And I think that's something that we see a lot in this day and age, that people just don't take personal responsibility. And so, are we going to make it happen? Or are we going to say, I can't? And just this, I really like this accountability ladder, so that where can we change our mindset? Because sure, as women, we're up against different things. There's different expectations, but what can we do to maybe change the course, find a different outcome, and just do it and make it happen, right? There is a book that I really like. It's called Extreme Ownership. It's very military, it's very male dominant, but the concepts in it have been very useful for me to understand as a leader, how I can grow, as a woman, how I can grow into a better leadership role. So I just wanted to mention that to you, because to me, this all comes with this decision phase in extreme ownership. And that's my number one tip. Decide. Like, you have to decide what you want your life to look like and what you want to be. So number 2 here. So along with being a national fitness champion myself, years going on, again, my background was in teaching. So I do feel like I'm really good at teaching people and motivating people and empowering people. Well, one of my clients at the time, she became a 3-time world champion, magazine cover model, broke history in the sport as a bikini athlete. And I coached her for 5 years. So I was her coach when she won 3 straight years of this award. And like I mentioned, and during this time of coaching her, I became a mom. And I started seeing things differently, and I wasn't in love with this life anymore. I wasn't in love with doing this anymore. And I had so many people say to me, well, Summer, you're the iconic coach, or, oh, there's so much opportunity. There's so much money you could make. And one day, it wasn't this athlete, it was a different athlete I was coaching, came into my office and was crying and upset because she never won a sword. A sword was a type of trophy. She never won a sword. And this is a woman who is 40 years old. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is not a real problem. I cannot use my talents any longer, to create bikini bodies. Even if I'm the best in the world, I need to help women who are truly suffering in silence. And I'm sharing this because sometimes you're going to be presented with opportunities and you might be the best, but if it doesn't fit down here, you might make different changes in your role in whatever it is you're doing now in the fitness industry. And that's where, again, realizing you're the CEO of your business, or you're the CEO in whatever career role you have, but you're also the CEO of your life, and you ultimately can make the decisions. And like I said, just one day I made a complete pivot in my business and said, I'm not coaching physique athletes anymore. I'm just done. And I'm going to share with you again, because a lot of you are business owners or again, career driven in this industry. I mean, I had a 6-figure online business and I just said, no, it did not fit for me anymore. And so you have the right to hire and fire. And that goes for, clients and other people in life. And I'm going to share that a little bit more here. Like, you have that right to make that decision for yourself. And that comes down to creating healthy boundaries. And I knew I needed to create healthy boundaries in my business and what clients I worked with, because that industry was becoming very toxic to me. And so, I found the most joy in working with women again, most of them were moms, 90% were moms in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and their 70s. And, this was actually even before I was introduced to the Functional Aging Institute. I was just like, wow, I find so much more joy. And that's the things we have to ask ourselves, like, are we finding joy? Is what we're doing, making us happy? Is it in alignment with who we are and what we want to do? And that was a big decision for me to say no. Like, no, I'm going to leave that industry behind. That, yes, I was successful. It was a great experience, but it's not who I want to help moving forward. It's not in alignment with my heart and in my brain anymore. And like I said, even in business opportunities, to say no, I don't even, want to have, even if I was financially successful, it just did not fit my passion and my purpose anymore. And sometimes we go through these experiences and it pivots for us. And so I just want to show you, here's an example right here of our community. And obviously this was before social distancing, right? And you see Santa Claus. I just found so much more joy in empowering people and to achieve your personal best. And I've had that little tagline for, over 10 years since we started. And so for each person that looks different. And so that's why we want to transform lives. And then several years ago, we opened our, more niche to the over 50 population, and working with a lot of women, like, they're trying to reinvent themselves. And maybe you have clients that they're in the same boat, or maybe you yourself, I know there's a lot of people here that, their kids went off to college and they were empty nesters. And that's when they really started living for themselves. And so it's just, I love helping people achieve their personal best, meet their goals, whatever it is, and your dreams don't have an expiration date. They don't. You can do whatever you want as long as you're willing to put the work in. And same thing with an online business, Fit Fab Women Online. It used to be called Bikini Body University because, again, years ago, that's like what I was told and guided to do. And I just had to rebrand some things. So I'm just sharing this because I want to encourage you, like, if you feel stuck or you feel that you've been, told or painted in a corner, like, no, really think about what it is you want to do, and then create healthy boundaries, maybe in your business, maybe it's with your family, other employees, and yourself, because I had to do that. I had to create boundaries with clients, like, okay, this is no longer the population I want to serve. And as you can imagine, that wasn't well received by a lot of people. And I had to live with that, and it took time. And creating healthy boundaries, even maybe with employees or family and with yourself. And I find that this is the hardest thing for most people, especially women, when I teach my course, that they're like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And I do an activity that's called a happiness audit, where basically on one side you share, who brings you the most joy? Who do you enjoy? And this could be clients, this could be employees, this could be family, like, who makes you happy and they're like your ideal people in your life? And then who do you tolerate? Who do you kind of deal with? And that's why I say it's okay. You're the CEO of your own life and in your business. You have the right to hire and fire. That it's okay to say, you know what? This isn't bringing me joy, whether it's a client, whether it's an employee, whether it's a family member, and create a boundary. I had to create some serious boundaries in my own family, because going back to what I said, being the oldest of 6 children, my mother being deceased, I had one of my siblings that several years was struggling with his mental health. And every time something would happen, everyone expected me to take care of it. Well, Summer's going to step in and take care of it. Well, as a mom, as a business owner, I had to put boundaries and say, listen, here's what I will help do, but I need you talking to my dad. I need you talking to my other siblings. Here's where I need you to help. And a lot of times we want to take on everything, right? We don't want anyone to be upset. And I'll tell you what, at first, again, it was challenging setting those boundaries in my family. Even things like text messages, like, hey, you can't blow up my phone all day long. And I know some of you probably have clients and friends, maybe employees, like this too. I only answer my text messages in certain time slots, or if it's not an emergency, I'm going to get to it. So anyway, I just hope this is making you think, like, where can you create more boundaries to increase your happiness, to increase your joy, and let you meet the goals that you're trying to meet? Who do you want to serve? Who do you want to help? Okay, and really think about that and define that and create those healthy boundaries. It's not saying no to people, it's saying yes to yourself and doing things on your terms. And the more authentic and vulnerable that you can be, the more helpful it can be. I have found that in my business in particular, when I started to share like things that have happened to me, the different trauma, my, being bullied as a childhood kid, experiencing physical, mental, and verbal abuse, as well as my journey through postpartum, the more I started sharing that the more I was able to help people and help the people that truly wanted to be helped. And I think some of us, we perform. I always say as women, we're performing, we're pretending we're happy. And sometimes we just need to share how we feel. But also, if we're going to try to attract more clients or help more people, how can we use our stories and experiences to let them know that we understand and you're not alone? For me, that was the biggest thing in being authentic and being vulnerable, was letting people know you're not alone. Because I wished, why didn't someone else share with me what postpartum could really look like? And so again, here's part of my journey here, right? And for some people, this might look like a reverse before and after picture. I even had some people say like, oh my gosh, you were so fit before. Like, I was fit in the past tense. And again, this all goes back to body image. This goes back to just so many different things. But the truth of the matter is, the photo on the left, there was a lot of areas of my health that weren't healthy. My mental health wasn't necessarily in a good state. My physical health, quite honestly, being that low of body fat, my goodness, if I would have continued at that low of body fat, I wouldn't have children. And so I've had some people say like, well, how do you deal with it now because you're heavier? And I'll share, like, these pictures are 50 pounds different. And so, yeah, I've had to accept maybe a fluffier body, but that's okay with me because I'm a better mom for it. I can relate to other people so much better too, and share with them. And so we're going to continue to transform and evolve as women. And as you know, some of your clients too, they want to compare themselves to their old self. And I try to be really conscious of not comparing myself to that previous fitness competitor body, because that was not realistic. That was not something I could walk around with every day. So anyway, sharing this story and talking about these thoughts have really helped a lot of my clients too. So my number three tip, and I know some of you have some of my handouts as well, but number three is enlisting help. If we want to grow as an individual, if we want to grow as a person, we have to enlist help. And this goes in so many different things, but we have to enlist the right help. And this can be in the home, this could be in business. And we have to ask ourselves, are you a do-it-yourselfer? So many women, we want to do everything ourselves, right? It's like hard for us to accept help. I'll be the first to admit, like, I am a very independent woman, but as a business owner and entrepreneur, I've learned how important it is to develop a team and to accept help, but get the right help. And so you have to ask yourself, are you willing to invest time and resources to move forward? Okay, and let me explain what that means. So on the home level, the personal level, because again, like, I needed a nanny postpartum. Like, I could not run a business, take care of my children, and take care of myself alone. And for a while, did I feel guilty about that? Did people say things to me? Absolutely, they sure did. Try to make me feel like less of a mom because, oh, well, you're a mom. You're supposed to be sleep deprived. You're supposed to do what you've got to do. Well, I couldn't. It put me in the hospital. So the same thing at home, like, do you need a cleaning person? I remember that was the one thing my mom did, was she had a cleaning person. Now, granted, with 6 children and 5 minutes later, the house was a disaster. I experienced that now too with mine. Meal prep, a coach, like where in your life could you enlist some help that's going to help you elevate further in your role as a woman or as an entrepreneur or as a mom or whatever it may be, and assist you. It doesn't mean you're weak by needing to get help. And in business, is there a new team member that you need? Do you need a business coach? Do you need a virtual assistant? Man, I've learned so many things over the past, almost 13 years having a brick and mortar. And that's why I say enlisting the right help, because I've had the wrong team members in the wrong place sometimes, or I wasn't delegating things enough to people, and I was doing things that weren't the best use of my talent, right? Or who on my team needs more training to ease things up? Or who do I need to hire to fill a certain role? Who do I need to fire? Who's dragging us down? Who needs repositioned? So I just want to share these different things with you to think about, depending on what your role is in your career, to make you more effective, to make you be more successful, but to also have more joy. And I'm thankful. Wow, I've had to kiss a lot of frogs before I found some princes, as the saying goes. On my team, like I have had some team members where like it was just they were bringing us down. We couldn't grow, giving me headaches and so forth. And so, it's not fun having to fire someone, or it's not fun having to retrain somebody. But we just need to be aware of these things. And then even deciding like, is there a spot for them on our team, or do they just need to move on to a different role? And those are tough conversations sometimes. So again, ultimately, you're the CEO of your life and your business, and you have the right to hire, but you also have the responsibility to hire and fire. And again, this goes whether you're a business owner, whether you're a career-driven woman, or just as a woman in general. And that's, like my I believe statement, that I believe you have the power to become the CEO of your own life, and that we have to accept that responsibility. So in business, for those of you that are looking to elevate in your career, do you have a mentor? I certainly did not get to where I am today without coaches. And I've had multiple coaches over the years, some that were a good fit and some that weren't a good fit. Like I said earlier, I had male business coaches say some things to me that I'm just like, do I listen to this or not? Because you're telling me I can't use being a mom as an excuse. And it really wasn't an excuse. It was, here's what I'm dealing with. Help me figure this out. And hopefully that makes sense. But you have to be a compliant student patient. And of course, make sure it's a good fit. It has to be a good fit for you. And ask yourselves, are you coachable? I know there was times in my life where I really wasn't coachable. And then you have to ask yourself, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to listen and take action and really move forward? So I so believe in coaching. Like I said, I got my degree in teaching. I've always been about mentorship, but it doesn't do you any good to have a mentor or a coach if you're not willing to listen. Well, I'll ask our clients, our new clients coming on board, some of these same questions, because I'll say, listen, if you're not coachable or you're not willing to learn and listen and take action, we're not going to be able to help you. So those are tough conversations we need to have sometimes as well. So kind of going back to what I said earlier, and this was something that I kind of was dragging my feet on, was making decisions such as closing down, as you see on the right, an opportunity, a 6-figure business. And again, this is way before online coaching was even a big thing, is, I needed to listen to myself and listen and say, okay, that was the right decision. The same with rebranding some of the other areas of my business. Like I said, Bikini Body University, I worked with my coach then to say, well, how can we, even though I was known for creating the best bikini bodies, that wasn't the emphasis. And that's how FitFab Women Online was born. And the same with It Summers Fitness. I've had to listen to my coaches to change different aspects of my business. I used to allow open gym memberships, for example, but one day I made the decision that I wanted to focus on the encouragement. I wanted to focus on the empowerment. And so we converted to a studio. And so here's a picture of what our studio looks like right now from one view. Like I said, we have almost 6,000 square feet. And it was working with coaches that allowed me to make these kind of scary or even risky decisions that have paid off in the future. So again, we've moved into more of a functional space. And so there might be things that you're thinking about, again, in your general life or in your business that you need to maybe make some changes or start over. And it's scary. So if you have a coach or a mentor to help you, someone's been in that space before, who's been successful, who's helped other people, it's going to make your journey a lot easier, a little less stressful, and maybe move there even quicker. And again, like I mentioned, that's why I rebranded to Fit Fab Women Online. It just felt better. Like that was some terminology that I always used. So my fourth tip for you is trust the process and stay the course. So if you hire a coach, you enlist a coach, or there's some sort of change that you want to make to elevate yourself, you got to trust the process and stay the course. And so if you don't trust your coach, that's not going to be a good fit, coach or counselor. Okay. Because again, like for me, I've had some trauma issues. So I need to work with my counselor to be able to move forward and recognize that imperfect action is better than no action at all. Because I think as women, we like stall on things or we become paralyzed by perfection, but imperfect action is better. Like just do something and, recognize that success is not going to be that straight line, that it's going to be up and down. And that, for me, I've had a lot of rough patches in my life, and I've just learned to reframe it and say, all right, what is the lesson that's going to be learned? And what is the new awesome thing that is going to be born now from this really not fun situation I'm going through? And just embracing and reframing that. And just dropping that all or nothing mentality that, well, I just can't do it. Done is better than perfect. I've had to use that adage a lot with a lot of my clients. Done is better than perfect. So the same thing with your fitness clients. Do 10 minutes rather than doing nothing if you can't get a 30-minute workout in. In business, done is better than perfect, and you only get paid for done. So many people, maybe we've worked on ads, but we never launched the ads, right? And get them out there. Like you just have to get things done and realize that in business, you only get paid for things that are done, not just an idea floating around. Same thing personally. You don't get paid or reap the rewards and the benefits until it's done and put into motion. And so if we stop focusing on the past or the previous or, creating all these barriers in our mind, what we think we need to do, what we haven't done, that's really going to help us move forward and just keep taking baby steps and embrace that our life is chaotic. So if you are a mom, that was one thing that I had to embrace, that no, life isn't going to be perfect. It's never going to be calm. Embrace the chaos. How can I work with the chaos? How is done better than perfect? So what's really important to kind of tie things up here, and like I mentioned earlier, as women, especially when we're juggling all these different roles, is our self-care. Okay. So I'm just going to give you some quick tips on things that I implemented that were helpful for me, and hopefully they're helpful for you, or they might be something you can share with your clients even. So I had to get back to the basics for mind, body, and spirit. Like I said, when I was going through postpartum depression, when I was released from the hospital, like being released from the hospital didn't stop. That was the start of a new journey, and a journey that, my daughter is going to be 9 in November. So it's been, 8.5 years that I'm still on this journey of self-care. And so I developed the big 3, which kind of came into the big 5. And I do share this with all my clients. So this might be something beneficial. And they're just simple tips. Okay. Number 1 is 10 minutes of daily movement and exercise. So I know there might be somebody watching that they're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm in fitness, but I'm not really putting my fitness first. I'm putting my business first. I've been in that situation. I was in that situation, postpartum, where I couldn't bring myself to exercise. So I just started small with 10 minutes. And I've just developed this rule, and I teach this rule to all my clients, dedicate to 10 minutes daily of movement and exercise. And that's going to create the momentum, and it's going to help you get through those hard times. Because again, we try to create these big ideas sometimes, or these big goals. We'll start small, and this is one of them. And so I came up with a 10-minute fitness challenge. And for those of you that are, business minded, my 10-minute fitness challenge is actually even one of my lead magnets. And I've come up with different 10-minute workouts that people can do at home, and then that my clients can use too, when again, maybe they can't get to the gym, or life is just really full for them right now. Okay, so number 2, eat more fresh foods. It's just that simple. And again, this is a self-care tip. Some of you, I'm sure, we struggle with our relationship with food. And so if we're a busy, entrepreneur or career-driven woman, do we need to hire someone to help us with the meal prep if that's an area? So I just want you to think about that too. And it goes back to delegating and enlisting help. But eat more fresh foods. That's simple. I teach that to my clients so that they're not so wrapped up in their head sometimes on, following what a diet on a piece of paper that we just know doesn't work. So can you accept this concept of eat more fresh foods? Number 3 is wake in water. Right here, you see, I've got it. How much water are you drinking each day? Water, water, water. So again, that's another one that I teach my clients, just embrace these healthy habits. And this is something that I do as well. Number 4 is that your health is ultimately important. So are you getting health screenings? One reason this self-care tip is so important to me for other women is because when my mom died, I know that she put off a lot of her health screenings. She died of colon cancer. She delayed surgery because she thought it would be inconvenient for the rest of us. And so how many women out there that you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I haven't had, a mammogram or a colonoscopy or some other screening that yearly, the next thing you know, it's been 5 years. And so I just like to put that in the forefront of, ultimately our habits are our health, but we do need health screenings as well. Or, going to see a counselor, again, if we're dealing something on the mental health realm. I've tried to be really open about that because we know there's a lot of stigma surrounding mental health. And I don't know about some of you ladies, but I was raised that you don't talk about anything. And even when my mom was in hospice, my brothers were still in high school. They were not allowed to talk about it. They were not allowed to tell anyone that she was sick and dying. And I don't believe that's right? Like, we need to put things out there, and we need to talk about things. That helps us grieve, and that helps us move forward. And so maybe getting a massage or getting out into nature more, or, reading, those are other different ways that we need to put things and give back to ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup. And when we're our best self, then we can help others. So number 5 is sleep. Sleep is something that has been very challenging for me. I can't pull all-nighters. I can't get up with a crying baby in the middle of the night. Like, we already proved that. And so many women and so many people are just sleep deprived, and especially entrepreneurs, we're burning the candle at both ends. When it comes to our self-care, we need a set sleep and wake schedule. So yeah, I'm no fun, because I'll be the person that it's like, all right, it's 9 o'clock. Good night. Goodbye. I'm not going to stay up till 11, with friends. Like, people just know that, right? And that goes back to boundaries. I've created boundaries for myself that I know work for me. And the same with that sleep schedule on weekends and weekdays. So I'm going to go ahead and tie it up there. I wanted to allow for a few minutes in case we did want any questions or conversations. I hope this just helped you realize that if you are struggling or experiencing anything, you're not alone. It's okay to feel those things. And, there are ways that we can take back control for ourselves. So I hope that some of those tips that I shared with you might be something you can implement for yourself, or might be useful for a client. Because again, I've talked with women that didn't experience any postpartum issues, and so they can't relate to me on that. So that's why it's important for me to talk to women that have experienced postpartum issues so they don't feel alone, but that they also can figure out how to move forward. So again, I'm on Facebook, Summer Montabone. I have a personal page is Summer Stephen Hagen Montabone. Summer's Fitness is the name of my business in North Canton, and there is my email address if for any reason you wanted to reach out to me. So Lindsay, I guess I'll turn it over to you again, and I'm going to take the screen share off.
That was awesome. Thank you very much. I think those things, you know, a lot of the stuff you say, isn't it funny? Because everybody's on here as coaches. We probably preach that similar things, the self-care, we do it for everybody else. So I'm going to turn it over if anybody would like to unmute with any specific questions or just to share or reiterate. Sandra actually asked here in the, we'll kick it off here while everybody, Sandra asked, how are you going to move forward past COVID? And maybe even some lessons learned. I think this has been a great learning opportunity for us.
Okay, so Sandra, I'm not 100% sure which aspect you're sharing, but since this is a group of fitness business owners or entrepreneur-driven, career-driven people, in my business, I took a stand when we were told we had to shut down, and I said to all of our clients, we're moving online, like we're moving forward, we're moving online, and we're doing it. So I've always said you have to adapt, and you have to adapt or you die. I mean, look at the dinosaurs, right? Or the same thing in this situation in business. So, you know, we've just made adaptations, and sometimes you've got to work with what you've got. And I say that in business, and I say that as well as in my family. So as far as like in my family, now that I'm able to hire and have a babysitter come over, I've done that a couple of days a week so that I can, you know, move forward in my family. The whole COVID situation, like I said, going back to I believe most of us have been brainwashed to be sick, stuck, and hurt, and fearless. I think there's been a lot of fear created, and that's why, you know, I never want to tell someone how to think or how to feel, but I want them to just think and question things for themselves, because ultimately what we believe is right for us is what's right, you know, our belief. So I'm not sure, again, Sandra, which aspect specifically, and I don't know if that was helpful, but I just like I said, took a stand, because I know a lot of fitness businesses in my area, like they just shut down and they didn't even do anything online, and they froze everybody's membership. Well, as a business, you can't survive like that. And I'm like, I've been doing online training for a long time, so here's what we're doing, and rallying our members behind us, and we've been able to keep things going and move well, and people are enjoying, because I have this rule of 3. Don't tell me you can't do online workouts until you've tried 3 of the Zoom workouts, because most of the clients that said, well, actually all of them that said they didn't like it or it wouldn't work for them, enjoyed it, and they love it, and they're still doing it. So, you know, we have to be experts in behavior, not just fitness, right?